Hi everyone, it's Anne Stokes here, and today is Halloween. Now I'm sure you're all familiar with the costumes and decorations of ghosts and skeletons and undead that are traditional at this time of year. But why is this? Now our modern day festival of Halloween takes its name and some of its traditions from various different ancient festivals. There is the Christian celebration of All Hallows Eve, which is the day before All Saints' Day. There is a pagan festival of Samhain, and of course this time of year the Mexican celebration of the Day of the Dead. Now all these festivals have a link that they believe at this time of year the veil between the living and the dead is particularly thin, and it's also a time to reflect on our immortality, to honour the ancestors, and all these images come into play with that tradition. The image of a skull serves as a reminder of death and the transient nature of life, and this was used to great effect in Victorian funerary art and a style of depiction called memento mori. I would like to tell you today, as a Halloween special, about a few of my pictures that use the skull as a symbolic image within a Gothic picture to convey some meaning to the story. Here we have Lifeblood, and a traditional representation of the Grim Reaper is a hooded skeleton, but here I decided to portray this character as a lady in white. She stands here overseeing the endless cycle of life and death. The bones and roses swirl around behind her in the shape of an infinity symbol, life growing from death and vice versa. She has picked a rose in full bloom at its most beautiful, but soon it will fade. Beyond the veil illustrates the eternal cycle of life and the balance between life and death. And this is shown as the veiled lady holds a skull, and these two heads line up in a yin-yang repeating eternal cycle of life. Around her, the border is a dark sculpted stone to look a bit like a memorial, and on it are various Latin phrases which translate as meaning: seize the day, live remembering death, we are dust and shadows, and death conquers all. Dance with Death is actually a picture about embracing life. The angel of death floats behind a young dancer with his hands gently placed on her shoulder. He will be there one day to guide her journey to the next world. But for now, this young woman dances the dance of life, made all the more precious by its finite nature, which she acknowledges by looking down at the skeletal hand on her shoulder. This is a new artwork based on the Mexican Day of the Dead imagery. I have given it a fantasy twist with the character being a fairy. There are many skulls in this picture. The one she holds is a normal human skull, which will soon be transformed by her magic into colourful patterns in memory of the deceased human it belonged to. The skull fairy sits cross-legged in a pose that suggests meditation and concentration of thought. The bright colours and patterns I used are those typical in Mexican tribal art, and the orange flowers are marigolds, which are used in the Day of the Dead celebrations to honour the ancestors and are thought to attract the souls of the dead to the offerings prepared for them. I hope you found that interesting, and whatever you're doing this evening, I wish you a splendid Halloween.